Captain Jake Morrison pressed his hand against the cold metal wall of the bridge and stared at the massive screen before him. The planet below looked like a blue and green marble floating in the darkness of space. White clouds swirled around its surface, and he could see the bright spots where sunlight hit the oceans. "This is it," he said to his crew. "The third planet in this system. According to our maps, nobody has ever been here before." The exploration ship Aurora had been traveling for 6 months to reach this place. The Galactic Council had sent them to check out new worlds in the outer edge of the galaxy. Jake's crew was made up of different alien species, plus a few humans like himself who came from colony worlds far from here. Lieutenant Sarah Kim walked up to his side. She was one of the human crew members, a communications officer who had joined them from a mining colony. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel as she read the incoming data. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings," she said. "There are definitely intelligent beings down there, multiple species, and they have technology." The ship's first officer, a tall alien named Vexka, made a clicking sound with his mouthparts. His species, the Zephyrians, always did that when they were thinking hard about something. His 4 arms moved as he checked his own instruments. "This doesn't make sense," Vexka said. "Our star charts say this solar system is only 3 billion years old. That's very young for a system to develop intelligent life. Most species take at least 5 billion years to evolve." Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms and had studied creatures from hundreds of different worlds. Her dark eyes showed confusion as she read her scanner results. "Captain, there's something very odd about the energy patterns I'm detecting," she said. "They seem familiar somehow, but I can't figure out why." Jake nodded and turned back to the main screen. The Aurora was now close enough to see details on the planet's surface. The view made him catch his breath. There were huge cities with millions of lights. Roads and bridges connected different areas. In the oceans, he could see what looked like ships moving between the continents. "Bring us into a stable orbit," Jake ordered. "Let's get a better look at what we're dealing with." As the ship moved closer, more details became clear. The beings on this planet had built incredible structures. There were tall buildings that reached toward the sky and vast networks of transportation systems. But what caught everyone's attention were the old stone monuments scattered across the surface. Navigator Tony Chen pointed at several spots on the screen. "Captain, look at those pyramid structures. They're huge, and they look really old. Much older than the cities around them." Jake studied the ancient buildings. They were massive triangular shapes made of stone blocks. Some stood alone in deserts, while others were surrounded by modern cities. The pyramids had a certain style to them that seemed familiar, but he couldn't place where he had seen it before. "Dr. Rodriguez, can you date those stone structures?" Jake asked. Elena worked at her console for several minutes before looking up with a puzzled expression. "Captain, according to my scans, some of those pyramids are over 10,000 years old, maybe much older. But that's impossible if this planet is as young as our records say." Vexka's mandibles clicked faster now. "There's something else strange. Look at the arrangement of their cities and the patterns of their technology. It matches designs we've found in ruins across the galaxy." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Throughout the galaxy, explorers had found the remains of an ancient civilization. Nobody knew who had built those ruins or what had happened to them. The structures were always empty, with no signs of the beings who had created them. Scientists called them the Old Empire ruins, and they were found on hundreds of different worlds. "Are you saying these pyramid buildings look like Old Empire architecture?" Jake asked. "Not just look like," Tony said, his voice getting excited. "They're exact matches. I've studied the Old Empire sites for years. The mathematical ratios, the building techniques, the way they align with star patterns, it's all the same." Sarah turned away from her communication station. "Captain, I'm picking up radio signals from the planet. Multiple languages, but there's something strange about them. What do you mean, strange? Some of the root words and grammatical structures. They're similar to languages we've found in old Empire data fragments. It's like these beings learned to speak from the same source. Jake looked around at his crew. Everyone seemed to be discovering connections between this unknown planet and the mysterious ancient civilization that had once ruled the galaxy. The old empire had vanished over 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only empty ruins and unanswered questions. Dr. Rodriguez, I want you to run deep scans on the entire planet, Jake ordered. Look for any technology signatures that match old empire patterns and scan their biological signatures too. I want to know what species we're dealing with down there. Elena nodded and began working at her station. The Aurora's advanced sensors could penetrate deep into the planet's surface and analyze everything from underground structures to the genetic makeup of living beings. While they waited for the results, Jake walked to the large viewing window that ran along one side of the bridge. The planet slowly rotated beneath them, showing different continents and oceans. He could see the lights of cities on the night side of the world and green forests and brown deserts on the day side. "Captain?" Elena called out. "I'm getting the biological scan results. There are several intelligent species on the planet, but one of them is interesting." "Interesting how?" "Well, they're bipedal mammals, similar to humans in basic body structure, but their genetic patterns are really complex, much more complex than you'd expect from a species that evolved naturally on a young planet." Vexca moved closer to look at the data. Could they be transplants? Species that were moved here from somewhere else? "Maybe," Elena said. "But if so, it happened a very long time ago. Long enough for them to develop their own unique variations." Tony suddenly made an excited sound. "Captain, look at this. I've been comparing the planet's defense satellites to our database. They have orbital platforms that use energy shield technology. That's old Empire tech. Nobody in the current galaxy knows how to build energy shields like that." Jake felt his heart beating faster. "Are you telling me that this supposedly primitive planet has technology that we don't even understand?" "Not just that," Sarah added. "I've been listening to their communication signals. They have a global quantum communication network that's more advanced than what most Galactic Council species use." The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, but they formed a picture that didn't make sense. This planet was supposed to be newly discovered, with young civilizations just beginning to explore space. But everything they were finding suggested connections to the most advanced and mysterious civilization in galactic history. "Dr. Rodriguez," Jake said slowly, "I want you to prepare a detailed analysis of everything we've found and start getting ready for first contact procedures. We're going to need to talk to whoever is running things down there." Elena nodded. "Captain, should I alert the Galactic Council about what we've discovered?" Jake thought for a moment. Something told him that this discovery was going to change everything they thought they knew about galactic history. The old Empire ruins had always been a mystery. But maybe the answer to that mystery was floating right below them. "Not yet," he said finally. "Let's make contact first and see what these beings have to tell us. I have a feeling we're about to learn something that's going to surprise everyone in the galaxy." Captain Jake Morrison stood in the Aurora's communication center, waiting for the response from the planet below. His crew had sent standard first contact messages in 12 different galactic languages. The reply came back in perfect galactic. "Standard within 10 minutes. This is Earth Control to unknown vessel," the voice said through the speakers. "We acknowledge your first contact protocols and welcome you to our system. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Sarah Kim looked up from her station with surprise on her face. "Captain, they're using our language perfectly. Not just basic words, but complex grammar and formal diplomatic speech patterns." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Most newly discovered species took months to learn even simple galactic languages. These beings spoke like they had been using it for years. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Aurora," he replied into the microphone. "We are here on a peaceful mission to establish contact with your civilization and welcome you to the galactic community." There was a pause before the response came. "Captain Morrison, we appreciate your peaceful intentions. We are prepared to meet with your representatives. Please land your shuttle at the coordinates we are transmitting now. Our ambassador will meet you there." Vex-Ka clicked his mandibles nervously. "Captain, they're acting like they expected us to show up. Most primitive worlds panic when they first see alien ships." Dr. Elena Rodriguez checked her instruments again. "I'm still getting those strange energy readings from the planet's surface. Whatever technology they're using down there, it's not in our database." 2 hours later, Jake found himself sitting in a shuttle with 5 crew members, descending through Earth's atmosphere. The coordinates led them to a large city with tall glass buildings and busy streets filled with vehicles. The landing pad they were directed to was clearly built for receiving spacecraft. As the shuttle touched down, Jake looked out the window and saw a group of beings waiting for them. They looked remarkably similar to humans, but their clothes and equipment seemed more advanced than he had expected. The shuttle door opened and Jake stepped out onto the landing pad. The air was clean and fresh, with a slight breeze that carried the scent of growing plants. A woman approached him with confident steps. She was tall and had dark hair pulled back in a formal style. Her clothes were simple but well made, and she wore a small device on her wrist that looked like a communication unit. "Captain Morrison," she said, extending her hand in what Jake recognized as a human greeting gesture. "I am Ambassador Lisa Park. Welcome to Earth." Jake shook her hand, noting that her grip was firm and confident. "Ambassador Park, thank you for receiving us. This is a historic moment for both our civilizations." Lisa smiled, but Jake noticed something strange in her expression. It wasn't the wonder and excitement he expected from someone meeting aliens for the first time. Instead, she looked calm and prepared, as if this was just another day at work. "Please, follow me," Lisa said. "We have prepared a meeting facility where we can talk privately." As they walked through the city, Jake observed everything around him. The buildings were impressive, made of materials he didn't recognize. The vehicles moved quietly and seemed to run on some kind of clean energy. People on the streets looked at the alien visitors with curiosity but not fear or panic. "Ambassador Park," Jake said as they walked, "your people seem very calm about meeting aliens for the first time." Lisa glanced at him sideways. "We've always known we weren't alone in the universe, Captain. We've been preparing for this day for a long time." They entered a large building and took an elevator to the top floor. The meeting room had floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the sprawling city below. Jake could see that the city was much larger than it had appeared from space, with millions of people going about their daily lives. Commander Rex Hoffman, the Aurora's military advisor, had been quiet during the walk, but now he spoke up. "Ambassador, our scans show that your world has some very advanced defensive systems, orbital platforms with energy shields. Where did you acquire that technology?" Lisa sat down at a large table and gestured for the others to join her. "Commander, we developed that technology ourselves over many generations. Earth has faced threats before, and we learned to protect ourselves." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. "What kind of threats? Our records show no evidence of hostile activity in this sector of the galaxy." "Your records only go back so far, Dr. Rodriguez," Lisa replied. "Earth's history is much longer than you might think." Jake felt that strange chill again. There was something about the way Lisa spoke that suggested she knew more than she was saying. "Ambassador, can you tell us about your civilization's development? How long have your people had spaceflight capability?" Lisa was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. "Captain, that's a complicated question. Our ancestors have been traveling between the stars for a very long time. Much longer than your Galactic Council has existed." Vex-Ka's 4 arms moved restlessly. That's impossible. The Galactic Council was formed after the fall of the old empire, over 40,000 years ago. No current civilization is older than that. Define current civilization, Lisa said with a slight smile. The room fell silent. Jake looked around at his crew members and saw the same confusion on their faces that he felt. Every answer Lisa gave raised more questions. Ambassador, Jake said carefully, when you say your ancestors traveled between the stars, are you referring to the beings who built the old empire ruins we find throughout the galaxy? Lisa stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the city for a long moment before turning back to face them. Captain, what if I told you that those ruins aren't as empty as you think they are? Sarah Kim spoke up for the first time since they had landed. What do you mean, not empty? I mean that the civilization that built them never really disappeared. They just became very good at staying hidden. Dr. Rodriguez pulled out her scanner and checked the readings. Ambassador, my instruments are detecting some very unusual energy patterns in this building and throughout your city. The technology signatures match nothing in our databases, but they're similar to readings we get from old empire sites. Lisa nodded slowly. Dr. Rodriguez, how much do you know about the Terran Federation? Jake felt his heart stop. The Terran Federation was the official name for the old empire, according to the few data fragments that had been recovered from ancient sites. It was the mysterious human-led civilization that had ruled most of the galaxy before vanishing without explanation. We know very little, Jake admitted, just that it was a powerful human empire that disappeared around 50,000 years ago. Most scientists believe the humans went extinct when their civilization collapsed. Most scientists are wrong, Lisa said quietly. The humans didn't go extinct, Captain. They came home. Commander Hoffman leaned back in his chair. Are you saying that Earth is the original human homeworld, that you're descended from the Terran Federation? I'm not just saying it, Commander. I'm telling you that Earth has always been the human homeworld. We never left. When the Federation began to crumble due to civil wars and economic problems, many humans scattered to colony worlds across the galaxy. But some of us stayed here and decided to wait. Tony Chen had been quietly taking notes, but now he looked up with excitement. Wait for what? For the galaxy to grow up, Lisa replied. For the other species to learn to work together instead of fighting each other. For a time when humanity could return to galactic civilization as partners instead of rulers. Jake stood up and walked to the window beside Lisa. The city stretched out below them, a testament to thousands of years of continuous development and growth. How long have you been watching us? The Galactic Council, I mean. Since the beginning, Lisa said. We helped guide the formation of the Council. We've been quietly preventing wars, sharing technology through indirect means, and making sure the galaxy developed in a peaceful direction. We've been waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves again. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. Everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about galactic history was wrong. The mysterious old empire hadn't disappeared at all. They had been watching and guiding galactic development for 50,000 years, waiting for the right moment to return. Ambassador, Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. What happens now? Captain Jake Morrison felt like the ground beneath his feet had disappeared. He stared at Ambassador Lisa Park, trying to process what she had just told him. The humans on Earth were descendants of the legendary Terran Federation, the ancient empire that had ruled the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing 50,000 years ago. I need proof, Jake said finally. The Galactic Council needs to know about this, but they won't believe it without evidence. Lisa nodded. Of course, Captain. We've been preparing for this moment for a very long time. Dr. Rodriguez, may I borrow your genetic scanner? Dr. Elena Rodriguez handed over the small device, her hands shaking slightly. Lisa pressed it against her arm and waited for the results. When the scanner beeped, Elena looked at the readings and gasped. This is impossible, Elena whispered. According to this scan, your genetic markers match perfectly with DNA samples we've recovered from old Empire sites. But those samples are over 50,000 years old. Not impossible, Lisa replied. Just unexpected. We are who we say we are. Commander Rex Hoffman leaned forward. Even if you are descendants of the Terran Federation, that doesn't explain how you've maintained such advanced technology. Our records show that the Federation's civilization completely collapsed. Lisa smiled sadly. The Federation didn't collapse everywhere, Commander. It collapsed in space, but not on Earth. Would you like to see our real history? She led them out of the building and toward a large vehicle that looked like a cross between a bus and a spaceship. As they climbed inside, Jake noticed that the seats were made of materials he had never seen before, and the control panels displayed information in languages that looked familiar but weren't quite like anything in the galactic databases. Tsiu. Vehicle lifted off the ground silently and began flying toward a mountain range in the distance. Through the windows, Jake could see the landscape changing from city to farmland to wilderness. The technology that powered their flight was completely quiet and produced no visible exhaust or energy waste. "Where are we going?" Sarah Kim asked. "To the archives," Lisa replied. "The place where we've kept our real history safe for 50,000 years. After an hour of flight, they landed near what looked like a simple research station built into the side of a mountain. But as they approached the entrance, Jake realized that the building extended deep into the rock. The doors were made of metal. That seemed to shimmer and change color as they walked through. Inside, they were met by an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore simple clothes, but Jake noticed that he carried himself with the confidence of someone used to being in charge of important things. "Captain Morrison," Lisa said, "this is Professor Kate Williams, Earth's leading historian. She's been waiting to meet you." Kate shook hands with each of the crew members. "Welcome to the archives. I'm sorry we had to keep our identity secret for so long, but we needed to be sure that the galaxy was ready for our return." She led them through corridors lined with displays showing star maps, historical documents, and artifacts that clearly came from old Empire sites. But here, the displays were active and working, not the dead ruins that explorers found throughout the galaxy. "This is incredible," Tony Chen said, staring at a three-dimensional map of the galaxy that showed trade routes and colony worlds from 50,000 years ago. "These are the original Federation records." "Not just records," Kate replied. "Living documents. We've been updating them continuously for 50 millennia." They entered a large circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed a slowly rotating view of the galaxy. Hundreds of points of light showed the locations of star systems, and Jake could see information flowing between them in real time. "This is our monitoring center," Kate explained. "From here, we've been watching the development of every major civilization in the galaxy. We've prevented wars, guided technological development, and made sure that species learn to cooperate instead of destroying each other." Dr. Rodriguez walked to one of the control stations and studied the displays. "You've been manipulating galactic development for 50,000 years?" "Not manipulating," Kate said firmly. "Guiding. There's a difference. When the Zephyrian Empire was about to start a war with the Christek Alliance 3,000 years ago, we arranged for them to discover a new trade route that made war unprofitable. When the Andromedans developed nuclear weapons, we made sure they also discovered clean energy at the same time." Vexka's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You're talking about major historical events. The Great Peace of Andromeda, the Zephyrian trade expansion, the formation of the Galactic Council itself. Are you saying humans were behind all of these?" "Not behind them," Kate corrected. "We helped create the conditions that made them possible. The species involved made their own choices. We just made sure they had good options to choose from." Jake sat down heavily in one of the chairs. The implications were staggering. Every major positive development in galactic history for the past, 50,000 years had been subtly influenced by humans working from Earth. Why? He asked. Why spend so much time and effort helping other species while staying hidden yourselves? Kate touched a control panel, and the dome above them changed to show images from Earth's history. They saw the collapse of the Federation, the retreat to Earth, and the gradual rebuilding of human civilization on their homeworld. Because we learned from our mistakes, she said. The Terran Federation became too large, too complex, and too controlling. When it collapsed, the wars nearly destroyed everything. We realized that ruling the galaxy wasn't the answer. Teaching the galaxy to rule itself was. Another man entered the room, wearing what looked like a military uniform but with no rank. Insignia that Jake recognized. He was tall and moved with the precision of a career soldier. Captain Morrison, Lisa said. This is Dr. Marcus Thompson, Earth's Director of Galactic Affairs. Marcus shook Jake's hand with a grip that spoke of hidden strength. Captain, I'm sure you have many questions about our capabilities and intentions. I do, Jake replied. Starting with how you've managed to stay hidden from galactic sensors for so long, Marcus smiled. The same way we've been guiding galactic development, very carefully, and with technology that's 50,000 years ahead of what most species currently have. He led them to another section of the facility where they could see Earth's true technological capabilities. Massive computers processed information from across the galaxy. Communication arrays that could send messages instantly to any point in known space. Manufacturing facilities that could create materials with properties that seemed to violate the laws of physics. This is just one facility, Marcus explained. We have others hidden around the world, and a few on other worlds that the galactic community hasn't discovered yet. Commander Hoffman studied a display showing Earth's defensive systems. Those orbital platforms we detected, they're not just energy shields, are they? No, Marcus admitted. They're complete defensive and monitoring networks. We can track every ship that enters this system, and we can defend against any threat the current galaxy could pose. But we've never used them aggressively. Sarah Kim had been quiet for most of the tour, but now she spoke up. What about the other humans in the galaxy? The ones living on colony worlds who joined the Galactic Council as refugees and survivors? Kate's expression grew sad. They really are refugees and survivors. When the Federation collapsed, millions of humans were stranded on distant worlds. Over the generations, they forgot their origins and developed their own cultures. They don't know about Earth's true status any more than the rest of the galaxy does. So there are humans throughout the galaxy who don't know they have a homeworld? Jake asked. Until today, yes, but that's about to change. Marcus activated another display that showed a complex network of communication signals spreading out from Earth to points throughout the galaxy. Captain, when we decided to reveal ourselves, to you, we triggered something that's been dormant for 50,000 years. Every old Empire site, every ancient installation, every piece of Federation technology that's been sleeping in ruins across the galaxy just received a wake-up call. Jake felt his blood turn cold. What kind of wake-up call? The kind that tells them their creators have returned and it's time to come back online. Through the facility's communication system, they could hear reports coming in from across the galaxy. Ancient ruins were activating. Dormant installations were powering up, and on hundreds of worlds, pieces of technology that had been dead for millennia were suddenly broadcasting recognition codes in ancient human languages. The galaxy was about to discover that the mysterious old empire had never really gone away. It had just been sleeping, waiting for Earth to decide it was time to come home. Captain Jake Morrison watched the display screens in the Earth facility with growing amazement and worry. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy as ancient installations came back to life. The wake-up signal that Earth had sent was reaching. Old Empire sites on hundreds of worlds. Captain, Dr. Marcus Thompson said, pointing to one of the main screens. Look at this report from the Vega system. The ruins on Vega Prime just activated a massive terraforming station that's been dormant for 40,000 years. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied her scanner readings. The energy output from these awakening sites is incredible. Some of them are producing more power than entire star systems normally generate. On another screen, they could see live feeds from different worlds. Ancient towers were rising from underground chambers. Dormant factories were starting production. Cycles. Communication arrays were extending toward the stars and beginning to broadcast in languages that had been silent for millennia. "This is happening everywhere," Sarah Kim said, watching reports scroll past on her portable communicator. "The Galactic Council emergency channels are going crazy with calls from every major world." Professor Kate Williams touched a control panel, and the dome above them changed to show a real-time map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light were now glowing where old Empire ruins had been found. Each light represented a facility that was coming back online. "We built the Federation network to be self-repairing and self-maintaining," Kate explained. "When Earth went into hiding, we put everything into sleep mode. Now that we've announced our return, the network is waking up and assessing what needs to be done." Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster entered the room wearing Earth's military uniform. She carried herself like someone who had spent years preparing for this exact moment. Jake noticed that her equipment looked more advanced than anything the Galactic Council military used. "Captain Morrison," Amy said, "I'm Earth's military liaison. I wanted to explain what you're seeing so you don't think we're starting some kind of invasion." Commander Rex Hoffman stepped forward. "Colonel, my job is to assess military threats. What I'm seeing looks like the largest coordinated activation of military assets in galactic history." Amy nodded. "I understand your concern, Commander, but these aren't military installations. They're infrastructure. The Federation network was designed to support galactic civilization, not control it." She activated a detailed view of one of the awakening sites. It showed a massive complex on a desert world that had been dead and empty for thousands of years. Now, machines were moving around the facility, repairing damage and bringing systems online. "This particular installation is a medical research center," Amy explained. "It's been analyzing diseases and developing cures for 50,000 years, even while dormant. Now that it's active again, it's preparing to share those cures with the galactic medical community." Jake looked at another display showing a different site. "What about that one?" "Agricultural enhancement facility. It can turn dead worlds into garden planets in less than 10 years. And that one over there is a communication relay that will allow instant messages between any 2 points in the galaxy." Tony Chen was taking notes as fast as he could write. "You're talking about technology that could transform galactic civilization overnight." "That's the idea," Kate said. "The Federation network was always meant to benefit everyone, not just humans. We spent 50,000 years improving and perfecting these systems while they were in sleep mode." Dr. Rodriguez was studying readings from her equipment. "I'm detecting some kind of scanning beam coming from one of the activated sites. It's examining the aurora." Amy checked her own instruments. "That would be Station 7 in the Centauri system. It's performing a safety check on your ship's systems. If it finds any problems, it will transmit repair instructions to your engineering team." "Without our permission?" Commander Hoffman asked. "The network is programmed to help, Commander. It doesn't understand the concept of refusing assistance to people who need it." Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Not danger alarms, but notification signals. Marcus Thompson moved quickly to a communication station. "What's happening?" Jake asked. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency session," Marcus replied. "They want all member species to send representatives to Deep Space 7 immediately." Vex cause. Mandibles clicked nervously. "Captain, we should return to the Aurora. The Council will want our report about this first contact." Lisa Park looked at Jake with an expression that seemed both hopeful and worried. "Captain, Earth is ready to take its place in the galactic community again, but we want to do it properly, as partners rather than returning rulers." Jake thought about everything he had seen and learned. The ancient human civilization had the power to dominate the galaxy if they wanted to. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of everyone else's. But instead of conquest, they were offering cooperation. "Ambassador Park," Jake said, "Earth will need someone to speak for you at the council session. Someone who can explain your intentions and capabilities." "We've prepared for that," Lisa replied. "Ambassador Patricia Hayes will represent Earth at the council. She's been studying galactic politics and diplomacy for the past 50 years. Amy Foster added, "Captain, we'd like to send a small delegation with your ship. Not as passengers, but as official Earth representatives. We think it would help if the council could see that we're serious about peaceful cooperation." Jake nodded. "I think that would be a good idea. The council is going to have a lot of questions." As they prepared to leave the facility, more reports continued coming in from across the galaxy. The Awakening Network was having effects that nobody had expected. On worlds where different species had been fighting over resources, Federation installations were providing alternative solutions. Mining stations were extracting materials from asteroids instead of depleted planets. Energy generators were providing clean power to replace polluting systems. "The network is doing what it was designed to do," Kate explained as they walked back to their transportation. "It's solving problems and making life better for everyone." But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about the sudden activation of ancient technology. As they flew back toward the Aurora's landing site, Sarah Kim received emergency communications from multiple Galactic Council worlds. "Captain," she said, "I'm getting reports of panic on some worlds. Government leaders are worried that the old Empire is returning to reclaim territory." "Are there any hostile actions?" Jake asked. "No, sir. But some species are mobilizing their military forces just in case." Dr. Rodriguez checked her scanner readings. "I'm detecting massive energy buildups around several of the activated sites. If those are weapons systems, they could destroy entire fleets." Amy Foster overheard the conversation. "Dr. Rodriguez, those aren't weapons. They're defensive shields. The network is protecting itself from potential attacks by scared civilizations." When they reached the Aurora, Jake could see that his ship's engineering team was busy working on systems they had never touched before. Chief Engineer Pete Wilson met them at the airlock. "Captain," Pete said with excitement, "you're not going to believe what just happened. We received detailed instructions for upgrading our engines, our shields, and our life support systems. The improvements will make our ship twice as fast and 10 times safer." "Where did the instructions come from?" Jake asked. "Some kind of automated transmission from an old Empire site. The engineering data is more advanced than anything I've ever seen, but it's written in perfect galactic standard with detailed explanations." As the Aurora prepared to depart for Deep Space 7, Jake stood on the bridge looking down at Earth one more time. The planet that they had thought was a newly discovered world with primitive civilizations was actually the hidden headquarters of the most advanced civilization in galactic history. "Set course for Deep Space 7, Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." "Sir," the helmsman replied. "With these new engine modifications, we can make the trip in half the usual time." As Earth fell away behind them, Jake knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The return of humanity's lost empire would change everything, but maybe that change would be for the better. The network that was awakening across the galaxy seemed designed to help rather than harm. But Jake also knew that not everyone would see it that way. The emergency council session would determine whether humanity's return would bring peace or conflict to the galaxy. The massive space station called Deep Space 7 floated in the neutral zone between 3 major galactic powers. Captain Jake Morrison had never seen so many different alien ships gathered in one place. Vessels from every member species of the Galactic Council filled the space around the station, and more were arriving every hour. "Captain," Sarah Kim reported from her communication station, "I'm receiving priority messages from Council Chairman Veltor. All ships are to dock immediately for the emergency session." Jake looked at the diplomatic shuttle that had joined them during the journey from Earth. Ambassador Patricia Hayes sat inside with two other Earth representatives, preparing for what might be the most important diplomatic meeting in Galactic history. "Send our diplomatic clearance codes," Jake ordered, "and request priority docking for the Earth delegation." As the Aurora approached the station, Jake could see the tension in space around them. Many of the alien ships had their defensive systems active, and some were maintaining combat formations. The awakening of the old Empire network had scared a lot of people. "Captain," Commander Rex Hoffman said quietly, "half the fleet out there. Looks ready for a fight." "Let's hope they don't get one," Jake replied. The docking process took longer than usual because of the heavy traffic, but eventually the Aurora was secured to one of the station's main ports. Ambassador Hayes and her team transferred to the station, while Jake and his crew prepared to attend the session as observers and witnesses. Deep Space Seven's main council chamber was a huge circular room with seating for representatives from over 200 different species. Jake had been there before for routine meetings, but today the atmosphere was completely different. Instead of the usual calm discussions, he could hear angry voices and worried conversations in dozens of different languages. Chairman Veltor called the session to order with his deep, booming voice. He was a member of the Corvani species, known for their fairness and diplomatic skills. His forearms gestured for silence as the chamber gradually quieted down. "Fellow beings," Veltor began, "we face an unprecedented situation. Ancient installations throughout the galaxy have activated simultaneously. These installations appear to be connected to the lost civilization known as the Terran Federation." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. Many species had built their current civilizations on old Empire ruins, and the sudden activation of those ruins had caused panic on dozens of worlds. "More disturbing," Veltor continued, "is the discovery that the human species may not be extinct as we believed. Captain Morrison of the exploration vessel Aurora has returned from a first contact mission with claims that will challenge everything we thought we knew about galactic history." Jake stood up when his name was called. He had spent the entire journey from Earth thinking about what he would say to the Council. The truth was almost too incredible to believe, but he had seen the evidence with his own eyes. "Honored representatives," Jake began, "I can confirm that the human homeworld of Earth still exists, and that human civilization never truly disappeared. The Terran Federation went into hiding 50,000 years ago, but they have been watching and guiding galactic development ever since." The reaction was immediate and intense. Representatives jumped to their feet, demanding proof and shouting questions in multiple languages. Some accused Jake of being deceived by clever aliens pretending to be the lost humans. Others worried that the return of the Terran Federation meant the end of the current galactic order. Chairman Veltor restored order by activating the chamber's sound-dampening field. "Captain Morrison, these are serious claims. Do you have evidence to support them?" Before Jake could answer, Ambassador Patricia Hayes stepped forward. She was a tall woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. She moved with the confidence of someone who had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Honored Chairman," Patricia said, "I am Ambassador Patricia Hayes, official representative of the planet Earth and the human species. I bring greetings from humanity and an offer of partnership to the Galactic Council." The chamber fell completely silent. Jake could see shock and disbelief on the faces of representatives from dozens of different species. The humans were supposed to be extinct, legendary figures from ancient history, not living beings standing in their council chamber. "You claim to represent the Terran Federation?" asked Representative Crixna of the Zephyrian Alliance. "Prove it." Patricia smiled and activated a small device she carried. Suddenly, holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing real-time images from old Empire sites across the galaxy. But these weren't the dead ruins that explorers usually found. These sites were alive with activity, machines working to repair and improve facilities that had been dormant for millennia. The network that is awakening across the galaxy is responding to our return, Patricia explained. These installations were built by our ancestors to support and benefit all galactic civilizations, not to control them. Representative Yolka of the Andromedans stood up angrily. How do we know this isn't some kind of invasion? Your ancient empire ruled the galaxy before. Why should we believe you don't want to rule it again? Patricia's expression became serious. Because we learned from our mistakes, Representative Yolka. The Terran Federation became too large and too controlling. When it collapsed, the resulting wars almost destroyed galactic civilization. We spent 50,000 years in exile thinking about what went wrong and how to do better. She activated another display that showed Earth's hidden monitoring stations, and the careful work they had done to prevent conflicts and guide positive developments throughout galactic history. For 500 centuries, we have been working behind the scenes to help the galaxy grow and prosper, Patricia continued. We prevented the Zephyrian-Christek War by providing alternative trade routes. We guided the development of clean energy, technology. We helped establish the Galactic Council itself by ensuring that wise and peaceful leaders came to power at the right times. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had been given permission to address the council as a scientific expert, stood up with her scanner readings. Honored representatives, I can confirm that the genetic and technological evidence supports Ambassador Hayes's claims. The humans of Earth are indeed descendants of the Terran Federation. But why reveal yourselves now? Asked Representative Torval of the Christek Alliance. Why not continue to guide us from the shadows? Patricia looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of different species. Because you're ready. For the first time in galactic history, the major civilizations are working together peacefully. You've built something better than what we had before. The Galactic Council represents cooperation instead of conquest, partnership instead of domination. She paused to let her words sink in. We're not returning as rulers. We're returning as partners. The Awakening Network will share its knowledge and resources with all member species equally. Medical research to cure diseases that have plagued your worlds for centuries. Agricultural technology to end hunger. Clean energy systems to replace polluting power sources. Representative Mel Kor of the Andromedan Scientific Union asked, "What do you want in return?" "Nothing except the chance to contribute to the galactic community we helped nurture," Patricia replied. "Earth requests membership in the Galactic Council as an equal partner, not as a returning emperor." Chairman Veltor called for a recess so that the various species delegations could discuss this unprecedented situation. Jake watched as groups of representatives gathered around the chamber, speaking in urgent whispers about the implications of humanity's return. When the session resumed, Chairman Veltor announced the Council's decision. After consultation with all member species, the Galactic Council votes to welcome Earth as a member world and humanity as a partner species. However, we request that the Awakening Network systems be placed under joint council oversight to ensure they benefit all civilizations equally. Patricia smiled and nodded. Earth accepts those terms gladly, Chairman Veltor. We look forward to working together to build an even better future for all galactic civilizations. As the formal ceremonies concluded and treaties were signed, Jake found himself back on the Aurora's bridge, preparing for the journey home. But home now meant something different. Earth was no longer a mysterious discovery, but humanity's ancient homeworld, finally taking its rightful place in the galactic community. "Captain," Sarah Kim reported, "we're receiving a message from Earth. President Robert Kennedy is preparing to address both Earth's population and the galaxy, explaining humanity's true history." Jake smiled as he looked at the stars outside the bridge windows. The galaxy had thought Earth was new, but instead they had discovered that everything old was new again. Humanity's greatest legacy wasn't the empire they had built in the past, but the wisdom they had gained from watching it fall and the patience they had shown in helping others build something better. The ancient Terran Federation was gone forever. But in its place was something unprecedented, a truly cooperative galactic civilization, guided not by conquest or control, but by the hard-earned wisdom of a species that had learned from its mistakes and chosen to do better the second time around.